Welcome to yet another ICA Best Cities Incredible Impacts live chat. I'm joined here today by Tham from the Travel and Tourism Research Association AP chapter, who will be sharing with us a little bit more about his association submissions for this year's Incredible Impacts Award. Before I welcome Aaron, just wanted to give a little bit of insight in the program itself. This is something ICA and Best Cities have been running for the fourth year now, and we traditionally always recognize 3 winners, but 2020 has been an unusual year, and we are recognizing each and every submission through these live chats to hear more of what associations are doing within this space of legacy. And we are delighted to welcome Aaron here. Aaron, thank you for joining us. It's late at night for you in Australia. Could you just share a little bit about yourself and your association?
Sure. Thanks, Christina. My name is Aaron, and I'm with the Travel and Tourism Research Association Asia Pacific chapter. So I've been with the chapter for about 5 years. The association is founded on the principle of trying to link up industry and academics in the world of research for the tourism industry in particular. And clearly, in a time like this, it is important for us to continue to communicate with our 120 or so active members. We are one of the 8 chapters around the world, mostly in the North American region, but we're the youngest chapter, and we're quite proud to actually represent our members from over what I believe to be more than 25 different countries.
Thank you. And could you share a little bit of the highlights of your submission for the Incredible Impacts Award this year?
Sure. One of the things that we've done as a chapter was to be on the front foot to look at the market environment for the whole Asia Pacific continent. And we realized we were in a very rich pool of different cultures with countries at different levels of GDP and economic growth. So what we wanted to do with our submission this year was to showcase the diversity and to encompass that kind of inclusive measures to embrace the different types of countries and academics and scholars and industry across the different regions. So this was our go-to approach. We've dialogued this across the different board members. We then came up with 3 main areas that we wanted to focus on in our approach this year. The first was to develop a category for members from Global South countries, and that would enable them to participate as part of the discounted rates for membership deals, as well as conference agenda and so on. The second area that we focused on was also empowering women. And this was one of the areas that we wanted to also partner, because we realized in our industry, the bulk of the work that's done is actually done by women. And yet not many of this agenda from an advocacy or a training vantage point have started to embrace that. And more so recently with campaigns like #MeToo has actually shown also how we can actually support these different roles of women in very powerful mechanisms through some of the work done out of the association. The third area was also partner marginalized communities and developing countries. So some of our Global South reach is in the area of sustainability and impact, and we wanted to measure this across different regions, looking at ways that even for our own conference agenda to have sustainable initiatives, so allowing students to perhaps use recyclable material for writing materials and also for some of the name tags that we had. And this was one of the valuable areas that we continue to push as part of our legacies, not just in terms of the theoretical constructs or the ideologies, but also how we could operationalize that into some of the day-to-day or some of the conference agenda that we do on an annual basis.
Some of the topics you mentioned and issues are really important for today's society, such as the inclusivity and sustainability. What have you learned from this entry in particular, which will help you to further develop some of those key areas for your legacy program in future?
I think some of the things that we've done and looking at some of the work of our members as a collective unit is really quite enlightening and in a very privileged space. And I'm mindful that we are only right at the tip of the iceberg. There's quite a fair bit of things to uncover. So some of the things that we've also learned is, well, what does diversity and inclusivity look like, have our conferences or some of our agenda address the broader issues of things like disability and access. So many of our members themselves also work with different stakeholder groups, looking at things like universal design principles for a website, looking at sign languages and translation services, looking at whether the conference venue in and of itself can be accessible already. And there's a very powerful mechanism that's driving this through. Many of the organization and its member entities as well tap on our strengths from some of the other association partners. We've got a Europe chapter, Canada, and North America. And what we've also learned from this is that looking inward can be quite challenging in terms of resourcing this. But when we leverage and collaborate with some of the other chapters in existence, we can actually develop very strong and powerful mechanisms, because then we have this like a newsletter that can showcase some of the best practices across the different types of chapters and the sizes of the geographic regions that we represent.
If you had to give a message to associations out there listening in and or listening to the recording, what would be your key message to convey? Why is it important to strategically include a legacy program in your conference?
And I think that is also now a trigger or a mandate for many of the destination bids to actually have a legacy component as one of the indicators. And I think from a association viewpoint, one of the things that I value is we've got to be able to walk the talk that we want to deliver. And each of us in our different associations are unique. No two associations are the same in terms of size and impact and reach. But one of the main learning points, and I want to perhaps encourage and empower different associations to do this, is to consider yourselves unique and to develop your own legacy impacts and programs on your own. It's very different to benchmark or to compare yourselves with someone else of a different size and stature, because some associations are very new and others have been around for 20 or 30 years. So while you are developing this, it also again gives everyone a reason of how they can share in this journey and in this passage with you as an association. And it's not a race. It's essentially where you are developing certain milestones as you develop maybe a 1 year, 3 year, or 5 year agenda. Some of the legacy impacts may be more of a priority now, given our times with post-pandemic landscapes, and at other times there may be other agenda that you might find more necessary or more resonating with the member needs with your association.
And this gives me a nice segue into my final question. You mentioned the destinations and their bids. How can destinations play a more active and proactive role to help associations to keep the legacy program in the destination even after the Congress has left?
And this is something that I've also been working on with a few different member organizations as well, to think in terms of legacy from a point of an index. So perhaps a destination, where it be Amsterdam, New York, Tokyo, and so on, can develop your own legacy index and measure that over a longitudinal manner. So you might have the same legacy framework, and something like the Kaohsiung Protocol would be a good way to actually kickstart something like that, unique for a destination, having that go across the different associations or conference agenda, for example, and having those like dot points continue to track over a longitudinal manner to see how have these been advanced over a period of time, where are the economic, social, environmental, cultural types of legacies that different associations bring to a destination. And I would imagine legacies are also something that's future and forward thinking. So where are the young people in this? How do we empower the kids who are of today, and where they see legacies perhaps in 5 to 10 years when they become adults, and in their own time also continue this form of future planning?
Thank you so much, Aaron, for your great insights. This recording will be posted on the ECA Congress broadcast portal, along with all the other recordings, as well as the case studies. For anybody who would like more information on the ICA Best Cities Incredible Impacts program itself, please visit our website, icaworld.org/incredible impacts. This is it for today. Thank you again, Aaron, for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.